Super GT has decided to drag Nick and I to a track walk, kicking and screaming. They call us professionals, but track walks are not our thing. Strategy.
Drive fast, don't crash.
What are we doing now?
Right now?
Yes.
Making a video.
All right. Okay, so what we're actually doing is, this is practice now. There's like 35 minutes. Alvarez, the pro, Super GT, he's going to do the big laps now.
Say hello to everybody.
Ciao. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We managed to make it to another Tuesday, another live stream. I almost bailed because I'm pretty tired, but I figured, you know what? Got to be consistent, because I promise you guys, every time I'm home on a Tuesday, I will stream, at least during winter and while I'm in London, of course. So I'm actually happy to be here. I do want to talk about some things before we get into the onboard story, which is my night qualifying session from this year's Spa 24 hour. It's actually pretty quick because I think I did 2 flying laps or something. But it, compared to the other Ferraris, is a good qualifying and fun. It's the most thrilling qualifying session of the year, even more thrilling than in a Pedgusa, because you don't get that much practice before this qualifying session. It's quite a weird one. The way that they structure the Spa 24-hour schedules, it's horrible. So you do all your practice in one day and then you immediately into qualifying. If you do the final session, it's at night, and if you after qualifying, you go straight into night practice, which used to also be called night qualifying. It's weird. When I did when I won this one, I got pole position in the AM class, but it wasn't so far up. So yeah, this was probably my best Spa 24 qualifying relative to the other Ferraris. I'm happy with that. But I think before we go into that, we've got to talk about Formula One. Now, usually I try not to engage in F1 because we all have such strongly held opinions that are almost impossible. They're even immovable objects when you talk about Formula One with people. But it's just a weird thing that I've noticed, specifically via Twitter, and even sometimes when I see some of the YouTube videos that are shared of people who've never even been to an F1 race and they have an opinion on the driving and stuff. I've always been surprised how different the reaction is between real racing drivers and regular fans. So this weekend is the best example. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have been going at it. I personally believe two of the best drivers of all time, and also two, we're witnessing the best Formula One championship in the history of F1. I think even better than the Senna Prost times. That's my feeling. Now, who you prefer as a driver, I don't really care. I personally, this year for some reason, am supporting Hamilton. I've never really been a Hamilton supporter, but I do have always respected his skills, and I don't think it's just the car. Um, and the reason I don't think that is because, his history in the junior formulas was crazy. But it goes beyond that, And this is the interesting thing. It's like having been through weekends when I've been under pressure, um, you know, and racing for a brand like, the times where my Ferrari has been the one that's been in contention for the championship, and you have the Ferrari factory engineers and so on there, and knowing what that pressure feels like, and going through weekends which have been tough, and then coming out with a decent result and so on, and then watching Hamilton drive, those two things combined, the way he reacts in the press, um, tell me that it's far beyond what just the car is capable of giving him. Now, I won't deny for 1 second he has a fantastic car, but it's clear to me that no one can just drive that car fast. We've seen George Russell do one race, by the way, at a track which did not have that many corners, and on a weekend where he didn't have that much pressure. So it's interesting to see when a driver is released from pressure. A good point is Valtteri Bottas. When the guy was under pressure because the team were not renewing his contract, he drove badly. We've seen it with Giovinazzi. He couldn't quite get out of the slump because he was under pressure to try and renew his contract. And we've seen it with Ricciardo last year when he'd already moved on to another team. At Renault, suddenly there was just this pressure was off him, and he just really started to deliver. And this year, as the pressure got more and more with Ricciardo, he started to drive worse. And actually, before he won Monza, his gap to Norris was really far. These are things that have nothing to do with the engine and the handling of the car and so on. This is just a driver being a human being, which we all are. And seeing what happened to Hamilton this weekend, did he have a car advantage? Well, yeah, but there was also moments in the race which I saw, and I'm going to get to my point in a second, which to me were just amazing. The guy didn't make a single mistake the whole weekend. Not when I say mistake, I'm not talking about sliding off the track. I'm talking about like maybe he locked the brake once, maybe he snatched a wheel once. Despite all of the things that were thrown his way to sort of not exactly guarantee a win, he was able to find something there and get the win. And the way that he positions his car on the track, which people don't recognize, if I'm frank, a lot of regular viewers who do like attack real racing drivers on Twitter, they know what a racing line is, but they don't know that there's like 7 different racing lines for each corner that you can take around a racetrack, which will give you a different result depending on the outcome you're looking for. So if you go into a corner hot and then there's another corner shortly afterwards, that doesn't matter that you went in too hot. You probably gain time going through the apex faster, losing a bit of time on the exit, but you already got another corner which you have to brake for. So you sacrifice exit speed to gain entry speed because it's not a long straight, or you sacrifice entry speed to gain speed on a long straight. All of these things are details which to a regular viewer and an untrained eye, you won't recognize. You won't recognize the positioning, not you guys are trained viewers, but you won't recognize the positioning of a car from lap to lap when a driver perhaps squares off the apex or aims to get traction or aims to come out in second gear instead of first gear. All of these little details that I've just mentioned can be applied to any corner that you go to at any racetrack in the world. And when you race against someone else, if you're in their slipstream, your knowledge about how to position a car is more prevalent in an experienced driver than a younger driver. That's why sometimes you'll see a younger, inexperienced driver crash into the other car because they still haven't quite figured out how to position their car so that they can still attack the corner without being affected by the dirty air and so on. Alonso is brilliant at this. You'll often find when he drives behind other cars, when he's in the slipstream, he takes completely different lines because he's trying to at least get half his car out of the slipstream so he can get a little bit more downforce, even if it's 5%. It allows him to get closer and so on. And that's what Hamilton was able to do in the final sector in Brazil. Now, the key thing is that the impressive part to me, at least, was he figured this out during the race. So initially, he overtook a couple of cars quickly in the sprint, but then he got to a group of cars which were closely bunched together that were in a DRS train. And when he exited the final corner, he was the same distance from them than the next car and the next car and the next car, before the DRS, before the benefits of his power came into play. But he figured out a way through the final corner, and Anthony Davidson also mentioned this, that he was able to get the car straighter sooner and get to 100% power sooner because the car was straight, he had better traction, which got him close enough for the DRS to actually make the difference down the main straight, which made it look like he had an insane advantage. But when he didn't get it right, there was no advantage. He kind of just, nothing happened. And the same thing happened in the race. It took him a long time to get close enough to Verstappen to exploit the advantage of his car. And another cool thing which people don't realize was when he eventually overtook Max, before that point, he was losing 3/10 in the middle sector per lap. Somewhere along the line, he converted that 3/10 to a neutral gap. And you could see this by watching the delta on the timing screen. And this is why he was able to get close enough to eventually set up a move, and not even into turn one, but into the beginning of the second sector. So it's these details which real racing drivers look at, compounded with the psychological effects of being disqualified, of having grid penalties, and so on, that real racing drivers recognize as massive mental challenges that we have to try and get over, and he was able to get over them and still take the championship fight to Max. Now, please understand, this is not me taking anything away from Max, who's done a phenomenal job. He's a very aggressive driver and a very fast driver and a very naturally gifted driver. But it's just strange that what we see on Twitter, and even here on YouTube as well, is the difference in opinions, like the vast gap in opinions when a real racing driver says, someone like Jean-Eric Vergne, who I retweeted yesterday, the guy, Jean-Eric Vergne is just a phenomenal racing driver, okay? When he's tweeting that Hamilton is one of the greatest of all time, and then you see how Twitter reacts and they're like, can't you see the engine? It's like, yeah, we can see the advantage of the engine and so much more. And yet we still, as racing drivers, professional drivers, are still able to see his ability come through and sort of dig himself out of his version of adversity. Most drivers are not able to do that on the weekends where they get pummeled. Some guys do dig deep and come out, but it was the way that he didn't make a single mistake the whole weekend. It was like crazy. It was crazy. I think the best, or maybe I still think that Silverstone 2007 or 8, whichever one, he lapped basically the whole field, or almost the whole field. I think that was his best drive in the rain back in the day, but this was maybe his second best. Just phenomenal. So yeah, it was really cool to watch. And if I just take again, like, I don't really support Hamilton or Max too much. My favorite driver is Alonso, always has been. But looking at it objectively, I think that Hamilton yes, he had a quick engine, no question, but the way that he drove, the way he moved the steering wheel, the way he positioned the car, it's just amazing. So full credit to him there. And I just don't understand why, when real racing drivers are all acknowledging how good someone like Hamilton is, I don't understand why people say, well, no, you're wrong. But it's like these drivers, like a lot of them have driven in F1, they've driven F1 cars and so on. So, yeah, I mean, keep in mind when Schumacher was dominating in F1, there was a very similar sort of a vibe in that people also said, yeah, but he's only winning because he has the best car. But you need to understand, these are the best racing people in the world, the best racing minds in the world. If they thought that they could put a better driver in their cars, they would. But someone like Toto, who's won 7 world championships or 8 or something. No, what is it? 5, 6, 7? I don't know. Like countless world championships. Jean Todt, who's won 5 world championships in a row. And even I've forgotten his name now. Christian Horner from Red Bull, who's won 4 in a row. These guys know when they have a good driver in the car, they know that it's not worth swapping those guys out. So there's a reason why a Hamilton finds himself in the best car from a Mercedes point of view, and Max finds himself in the best car from a Red Bull point of view. It's because these guys are literally the best drivers, and it's not just about 1 or 2 good laps where they had a car advantage. It's the whole thing. And just speaking purely from a driving point of view, because trust me, there's a whole nother element, which is what happens when you get out the car and interact with engineers and so on. But what they're able to do inside the car so consistently, this is the key thing, just puts them so far ahead of the other drivers. Giovinazzi, who's a phenomenal racing driver, could not have done what Hamilton did this weekend, even with Hamilton's car, because you don't just arrive one day and are able to put a whole championship together. It takes time and experience. I mean, that there's been countless examples. That's why, usually in F1, they groom drivers in a junior team first, you know. So, yeah, that's it. MS, I think you're wrong, my man. I don't know where you get your information from. It's probably from a Facebook group. But Mercedes isn't giving a FIA any money. Where's my water? Any money to try win a championship. That makes no sense. I know CJ's. I mean, look, we can all have. I'm actually going to time out. I can't time him out. We can all have opinions about these drivers when they get out the car. I know that Hamilton doesn't necessarily endear a lot of people, but he actually does. It's just not out. It's not you, but there's tons of people who look up to Hamilton. From a driving point of view, I look up to him a lot because his ability to dig out a lap when it looks like he has a car that's not ready for it and so on is just fantastic. So yeah, that's my take. Regardless of who wins this championship, best championship you're ever gonna witness in the last 20 or maybe even 30 years. So enjoy it, and it's totally fine to be passionate about it. It's totally fine to have opinions about it. But all I'm asking you to do is just try and look beyond something as simple as a car advantage. When a driver is consistently faster than everyone else over a weekend, you need to dig much deeper to understand that there's a reason why those drivers continue to dominate in every single class and category that they do. And if you're a fan of driving, analyze how they're driving and try and pick up patterns in their driving that you can try and mimic at home. Like I just said earlier, there's a million ways you can take a single corner. Try see the patterns that drivers are using to go fast through those corners. I learned how to position a car, and I don't do it nearly as well, by watching Alonso and admiring how he stays out the slipstream when he's battling someone, which always allows him to get closer. It's really cool to see. So, alrighty, what link do I use? Oh yeah, the link has changed. It's a Sparko something. But actually, I want to change my rig to one where I can mount more things on. I got a bunch of stuff mounted now. I got a light which I can move around. Whoop. And obviously this one, I'm going to get another light. And this thing just keeps going loose, which is driving me crazy. But anyway, thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far. Alfa Romeo went for money, I think, and Guan Yu Zhou is not a bad driver. So let's see how he does in F1. Yeah. So a lot of my thoughts on driving come from Claudio Piazzamuso, who just left a comment. So Claudio, how's it, bro? Claudio was my racing mentor. He taught me how to think more clearly about driving. And he didn't say it to me in so many words. It was just the way he spoke started to make me think about driving and improving. And if I have understeers, at the car's fault, is it my fault? So, yeah. What I think about the accident at T4? Well, okay, it was an incident. I'm fine with it. I can probably tell you Claudio was not fine with it. I like hard racing. I think if there was gravel, they both would have miraculously made the corner. If I was going to apportion blame, well, I think in that case it was Max's fault, but there was no fault there. It was aggressive driving. Look what both drivers said after the race. They're like, "Oh, it was cool," you know. So that was hard racing, and they don't expect it any other way. They've bumped into each other plenty of times before, so I think Hamilton just anticipated it a little bit. But I've been in the same position on both sides. So yeah. When is the Yeah, Max did create and he positioned the car perfectly. He's like, oh no, I'm just gonna go straight. But so what? I mean, come on. So yeah. Rossa Sim Racing, thank you so much for joining, man. Mohammed, yes, I'm doing Le Mans next year. Um, and Noah's asking what it's like to drive a GT3. I think if you watch any of my onboard stories, you will find out what it's like to drive a GT3. So let's jump into Spa night qualifying. I'm just going to open this up and pause that. And again, remember we have to do a sound check because for each onboard video, the sound balance is wrong. It just depends on the software. So in this case, we're using VBox for this one. And it's Rinaldi and Rinaldi Racing Spa24 from this year. Ferrari on a one lap pace in the GT World Challenge did not have a huge advantage. In fact, there was no advantage. In fact, there wasn't a single practice session or qualifying session where Ferrari were fastest, and I don't think there was a single race in the GT World Challenge Endurance Series, which is the one that everyone really cares about, where they set the fastest lap. However, they did win the championship, so it shows you in endurance racing it's not just about who has the fastest car. Though I do wish sometimes I could try the Mercedes, ironically speaking about F1 cars. So 13-minute video, very quick one. Smash that like button. Where would I rank Spa? It's not my favorite track, to be honest. It's obviously phenomenal to drive around, but it's not my favorite track because, well, I've done a billion laps around there, so I'm actually in some strange way bored. I'm actually kind of excited that they're changing Eau Rouge. Should we quickly talk about that quickly? They're proposing making a new layout. So let me just quickly try find this thing on Twitter. They want to change the layout of Eau Rouge, which is wild. How do I sign in? Oh no. Oh, I know what to do. Hope you guys can't see this. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. No, we're not good. Oh, come on. Okay, let me go like this. It's so funny. When you go to Twitter on the landing page, I need to just log in on this machine. It makes you log in. Okay, so let's quickly see if I can find this new layout for Eau Rouge, and it's quite smart. I think their solution is actually quite smart. Yeah, I drove a Bentley in 2016. That was a desperate attempt to try and stay in GT racing. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so what they're doing is they're pulling back the angle of the corner. The apex is usually somewhere around here. They're trying to bring the apex down, which straightens up the exit. So yeah. So what they're trying to do here, if you look at it from this perspective, which is from driver briefing notes, and I just want to make clear here, this isn't the final layout. Apparently, this was just leaked as a proposed new layout. Okay, this, if you read this, this is just lost in translation. This wasn't someone who speaks English natively, because you don't use tempo like this. You build up your speed slowly. That's something that we'd use. So definite little bit of loss in translation. But this here, they're tightening up and pulling the apex down, so you slow down the car sooner. And when you exit the corner, you're going to be pointing much straighter. One of the biggest issues is when you go through Eau Rouge and you apex over here, okay? That's where the car unloads specifically, and you go up over the hill with understeer, and when it lands, you have no choice. When it lands, it's very quick. It's like Eau Rouge is over before you know it. But the moment when it lands, you kind of already committed. You've already committed somewhere here that if something happens, you're going to crash. Because if you go through Eau Rouge flat, there's not much you can do at the top if you find a problem. So it's clever that by straightening up the exit, you're going to have much more control over the car to be able to make it through the turn. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I don't know if that's the final thing. Okay, so the reason this is at night is because it's the fourth qualifying. So there's 4 qualifyings. It's an average between the drivers. This year we decided to go with 3 drivers, even though you can use 4, and it was a huge mistake. And I was the 4th driver, so I was in the competitive quali. Now I think in the end we were like 27th, but the top, or 24th maybe, the top Ferrari was 17th, so I wasn't that far away, or 15th, and I was 2 tenths away from 15th and 2.5 tenths away from 10th. So that's how close it is. It was also my best lap time in qualifying at the Spa24. I've driven around here faster, but in Spa qualifying with a Pirelli tire, so on, this was the quickest. The year before, and I wish I had that video, I may have already shown you, that was, oh, why don't I have sound? Oh, it's very loud, yeah? Yeah, that's quite loud. Okay, so first of all, yeah, Eau Rouge is being changed because too many people are almost getting killed or are being killed. Nerves, I'm jacked to the tits right here. You always want to do well at Spa, and it's the first time on the weekend that we're driving at night. Okay, first time in the weekend. And how loud is that? Is that too loud? It's gonna get louder. So if this is too loud already, then trust me, you're not gonna hear me when I speak about the laps. Okay, I'm just gonna a little tweak. Okay, so this is the first time you drive at night throughout the whole weekend, and before this point you've just been doing like 3 or 4, 5, 6 laps during day practice because it's so difficult to bunch everyone in and get the laps in, red flags and so on. So yeah, it's you don't have an excuse where your eyes have to adjust. This was my 6th Le Mans, Spa event, 6th I think, or 5th or 6th. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. It's 6 Spa, so I've done enough night laps around here, so that's also a reason why I do the night quali. Now, the complicated thing is traffic. You have to make sure that you're in the right spot, and it's almost impossible to tell How do you know you're in the right spot? How do you know that when you get to the final chicane, there's not going to be a massive traffic jam? So, be courteous to others, because hopefully that karma will effectively come back to you. And what's also quite nice is, if we just go back slightly, you'll see I had a carrot in front of me. I had another Ferrari, and it's Alessio Rivera, who is one of the rising stars in the AF Corsa Ferrari world. So definitely someone that you want to get close to, and perfect carrot for me dangled in front of me for Spa Quali. Now the impressive thing with him is this was his first time ever qualifying on a Pirelli tire, which is like, it takes experience to be fast in these things. So anyway, off we go into the night. Now the camera definitely shows you a little bit more than what we can see. Like the biggest thing that you realize from qualifying, from night driving, especially when you first go out for your first run, is everything feels faster because you don't have that ability to look far ahead and anticipate better what's coming towards you. So we are in Bruxelles, turn 8, and down into No Name, turn 9. We talk about corner numbers, by the way, because everyone has different names. Like some people call No Name, which we just went through, Speaker's Corner. Some people call it turn 9. Some people call it the left-hander before pull one. So turn 9. Most people know what turn 9 is. Driving at night is my favorite thing. I love it to death. And this qualifying is the best experience you can ever have. Last year when it was raining and everyone was cutting the track, it was the first time that we were just able to cut the track. So we had to learn a new racetrack on our only 3 or 4 flying laps and try and put a lap together. It was something else. So because the video is short, we'll probably go over this lap twice. My best lap was my first lap. Now here I'm trying like stay close but not too close. There's probably traffic at the chicane, so hope that I don't approach too much traffic. Keep the tire temperatures up. So I'm riding the brake a little bit. If you look in the bottom left corner, you'll see. By the way, never look at 50, 100. We don't talk in percentages. We're talking in bar. So it doesn't show bar here. Anyway, bit of traffic up front. We are very, very, very lucky. Very lucky. So here we go. I know that this is probably only clean lap I'm going to get. So off we go. Screwed up the exit, but so what? I don't remember what the track limits were in this session. I do believe that they were pretty aggressive. Now you got to go into Eau Rouge. First time at night. You have to do it flat. Oh my god, what a thrill. Honestly, I wish you guys could appreciate just how epic that is. You use the similar reference points, but they just come at you quicker. Use as much curb as you can here, and as much curb here. And that was the one corner I was weak at. I wasn't sacrificing enough through the left-hander, so I would compromise the right-hander. We'll go over this lap again. Try and just send it into Bruxelles and then sort it out at the apex, and try and get on the power as early as you can, but stay to the right. And then here you get off the power early but accelerate through the corner. And then my favorite corner in all of qualifying of any track is Pouan. If you get it right, it feels so fast. And here we get to the really dark point in the racetrack. Like seeing this part is relatively easy to see, but then the next left-hander you don't really see. And it's always helpful when there's a car that you're following at night, because they kind of light up the road ahead of time. Whenever they leave the track, or if you overtake someone who you've been chasing, it suddenly feels like someone turned the lights off. That corner should have been maybe flat, but yeah. There's more oxygen in the air when it's cold at night. Blanchimar easy flat in modern GT3 car. See, I didn't even have to use all of the track, and I can be marginal with track limits. And no traffic. No traffic. Now, remember, I made a mistake on the exit of my first flying lap because the tire wasn't quite there. So this turned out to be my best lap, 2:19.1. I qualified half a tenth ahead of Rivera and 1,000th of a second behind Miguel Molina, factory driver. And it was just a nice feeling. So anyway, so now we're going to try to do one more lap, but hopefully there's no traffic. So remember that if you're completing a lap at the Spa24 and qualifying and you see traffic ahead, send it. You can't back off and try again. You won't get another chance. Whatever that lap is the lap. It is the lap, because if you try and back off and go again, the people behind you who are trying to manage their gap to you are going to catch you and overtake you, and they're going to slow you down. Or you're probably going to find traffic anyway somewhere on your next lap. So this is probably the first time in any case that I've ever had a lap in Spa Quali where there was basically no traffic. If anything, I was getting the tiniest of slipstreams from Alessio. So yeah, you turn in quite early in T1. Yeah, that's on purpose for me. That's just the way I like to. There's like a little dip there that I like to get in. The key into T1, and let's talk about multiple lines to a corner. You can go deep and do a V, or you can do a very early apex, but before you get to the apex, you get on the power, and as you go down the dip, the car sort of like the rear slides and straightens you out. But you can only do that if you get on the power at the right time. Otherwise, you just understeer through the corner. Took me a while to learn that. So anyway, let's try another. You guys can't see the dip in the curb here, but in the track, but it's quite dippy. See, so I get on the power as I touch the apex, and I get on quite aggressively, and the car the rear just kind of kicks out. So now we got an even closer slipstream. Alessio has given up on this lap, and he's going to give me a monster tow through Eau Rouge. It's not 100%. I told you, ignore the brake indicator. So now I went from half a tenth down at the exit of La Source to half a tenth up. So I gained a tenth there, and I felt like I didn't take. We're going into turns 5, 6, 7. I didn't take 6 correctly. I took too much speed through it and compromised my exit into 7, and exit of 6, entry to 7. So I wanted to fix that in this run, or in this lap. Let's see if I manage to do that. But we are approaching traffic, and you can see when you're driving, you can tell the rate at which you're catching them. It's never ideal. So now we're 1.5 tenths up. Managed to maintain it and gain 2 tenths up now. So this would have put me top 15 in quali. Okay, now we're looking at almost top 10. Almost, because it was pretty close. There was a gap. The top 5 were miles in front. I lost time there because sliding now. You also need to understand the peak of a Pirelli tire. It can maybe only last 1 lap. So if you're able to do 2, you're lucky. At night, it's usually easier. And this is where I sort of lost everything. The brake pressure is in bar. It's not in percentages. It's not in percentages. Don't you think hitting a later apex? No, it's not. It doesn't work like that. It's about how you can get onto full throttle as quickly as you can. So that there just compromises everything. And then I'm still not far away from my best lap, but I've definitely interrupted it now. And I went from 2.5 tenths up to 1 tenth down. So I've lost 3 tenths. And in that context, pretty sad, because I think we could have done a really good second lap, especially with the tow from Alessio onto the main straight, onto Kemmel Straight. Chesties, I think the top 5 drivers are the top 5 for a reason. I've had direct comparison to Pierre Guidi, and I saw the big difference between us. And that's it. You're not going to get another chance. I thought that guy was setting up a lap, so game created hesitation. Maybe I could have been a bit more aggressive, but I lost the time at the entry of Pouan, and I think it's mostly because I lost the peak of the tire. Yeah, we do compare data to the Ferrari drivers, but it also depends. Like when I was racing with Rigon in Asian Le Mans, we were pretty close. It's just with Pierre Guidi, it's the first time I've been with another driver where I've gone like, well, like how's he doing that? And it's always in the slow corners, by the way. It's not in the fast corners. So anyway, just quick review of Puon, because this is where we lost the time. Just by the way, I just want to cover this. If you take the more traditional perfect line in T9, no name, the car feels great, but the delta will fall away. So the challenge in T9 is to go unconventional and get on the power long before the apex and drive through the corner. But when you do that, the car hits a bump, and if you're not anticipating it, you could snap into the wall, which you obviously want to avoid. I haven't had that, luckily, touch wood. But that's what it feels like could happen. So here you want to get on the power now, which I actually am. I already am on the power. This is long before the apex of the corner, but I've kind of achieved a lot of the rotation already. But it turns out it wasn't as early as the previous lap. But for sure at this point here, the way that we cook the tire in the heater and so on, the tire pressures that we use for qualifying, the peak is going away. You can just see how the delta starts to drop off. So you can see with my hands, as I turn in, there's a bit too much sliding going on. It's a little bit too much counter steering. And every time you counter steer, that just creates a bit of hesitation when you want to get on the throttle. There are drivers who are much better at me than handling that, and they just hold it sideways forever, but that's not me. And by the time I exit Puan, that's it. So let's go back to the lap. I'll just keep quiet for you to watch the whole thing. Not both laps, just the first flying lap for fun. You can see the smoke here that I drove through, by the way. This is a bit of like a foreshadowing there. GT3 cars don't create smoke, okay? The reason you see smoke from this Mercedes, where is it? This Mercedes that's in front of us here, okay? You see there's the smoke again. It's because they had ABS failure. Now, a GT3 car is designed with ABS in mind. So that means your suspension, cambers, everything is designed knowing that ABS is going to sort out a lot of the locking, so you can be much more aggressive with your settings. If you don't have ABS, you change the feeling of the brake pedal, you change the geometry at the front, everything to compensate and make braking easier without the ABS. ABS is quicker, before any of you ask. It is a quicker thing. It's not like in iRacing where you, what do you call it, threshold brake. That shit doesn't exist here. Here, we push until we can't push the pedal any harder, and that's when the car stops. Okay, so anyway, I'll keep quiet so you can rewatch the lap, and then you can ask me some questions afterwards. Sweet. It's actually pretty cool to relive these things. I got to be honest. Um, like we do so many laps around tracks. We do so many, races and stuff that I forget a lot of what happened on these weekends. And I'm grateful that I saved some of the onboards. I really regret. Wait, I mean, how sick is that, man? One sec. You can hear the car touching as well. Just touches slightly. You set it up like that. Woo! Yeah, you can downshift pretty fast through the whole race. These cars are very reliable. Well, let me just go back there. Okay, so anyway, T10, you see what you mean about your lost time. Yeah, in the first lap, I had the rear grip to commit in, and the car rotated without the rear sliding. That's always what you want. You rotation without rear sliding. You get that more in a GTE car than you do in these cars. But on the second lap, I didn't have the rear for me. No, you run the ride height to the point where if you go through Eau Rouge, it must just touch, but not more, because the problem is actually at the end of the race, you could wear away the planks that they use to measure ride height, so you don't want that. So, yeah. I mean, despite doing the lap of my life, I was only P26 or something like that. P25, I think. So that's it. I mean, okay, 19.6, probably the second best lap of my Spa qualifying career. But yeah, still not enough for the big boys. So someone is asking, no, it's not hot tonight. In fact, you can get cold in the car if you still have to have the AC on. Darkness can slow the driver if you can't see. Jesus. No, I don't hold the lap record. But anyway, some of you are asking, are you able to analyze why the drivers are quicker in slow corners? Because that's where a lot of fast drivers gain their lap time. Like, if you look there at Eau Rouge, for example, because it's flat, where are you going to gain the time if everyone's taking it flat? If a fast corner is easy flat, then most racing drivers will be capable of taking it easy flat. Even if it's borderline flat, for one lap on new tires and low fuel, most racing drivers at a reasonably big skill set will be able to take that corner borderline flat. If a corner is not flat, if it's a lift, you'll see a differentiation there between the best drivers and not the best, because that lift, it can influence the positioning of the car, and that the very good drivers are able to position their car better in that lift so that the lift time is less. Sometimes it's better to lift so that you don't load the front tires too much and create drag on the front of the car. And sometimes it's even better to tap the brake, because then you get the car to turn even quicker, which allows you to go back to full throttle quicker. That's the key thing. You want to try and get back to full throttle as soon as you can. You can't do that when you have big steering angle in the car. In the slower corners, I can't tell you. Looking at the data, it's just like mine does that, and like Pierguidi's did like that, But if you watch the video, you can see it took a slightly different line to me. We shared the car at Monza, and in the ELMS, and he's able to get the car pointed straighter sooner, which allows him to get on the power. And especially at Monza, at the first chicane, I just could not match him. Just couldn't do it. And where Davide Rigon was clearly faster than me, in Dubai we were actually reasonably matched on race pace. He's very good at qualifying, but where I couldn't get close to Rigon was in Abu Dhabi, which is just, at the time, was just slow corner chicanes. I just could not get the car to rotate as quickly as them. So like, especially at Monza, for example, in the right hand I was fine, but to get the car left for the exit of the first chicane, I always had understeer. I couldn't rotate the car. And after watching Pierguidi and just thinking about it for myself, I think I managed to solve it at Monza, of which Monza Italian GT. So Monza ELMS, struggled in the first chicane. Monza Italian GT, changed my technique and found a lot of time. Now, you know what was interesting when I found my technique? It was actually to do with where my eyes were looking. And this is like a big thing, but when you're trying to go faster, you need to know where to look. So, yeah. GT does have TC. It does have TC. The reason you can drive faster in a sim and do faster lap times is because it's not real. So it does its best to get as close as possible to real. Like the guys at ACC, Kunos, Aris, head of physics, is doing everything he can to make these cars in the game as close to real as possible, but there's always going to be limitations. And also in a sim, you can spend endless hours refining your laps. As I explained at the beginning of this stream, we only have like maybe 15 laps of practice before qualifying. So, yeah. Mohammed, if you want to find out the difference between GTE and GT3, you have to watch my previous, I think my second last video. So, yeah. Can I elaborate on the watching? You just watch onboards like this and you analyze. Like the things I'm able to see in these videos from experience, I'm able to pick up why a driver's doing something and so on, which actually goes back to my previous comments about Hamilton and trying to understand why he keeps performing so well. Lucky Luke, why is the way that you drive in a sim different to the way you drive in real life? Because in a sim, what you're trying to do is get the rear to rotate much quicker than in real life. You drive a sim almost like you drive a kart, and like if you use the setup of a pro sim racer, it's very tail happy. In real life, it's not like that. The car's much more planted. You drive much more with the front and steer with the front, whereas in the sim you steer a lot with the rear. So. Yeah. How much bar of pressure? It depends on the car. I think in a Ferrari you do like 120 bar, and the Mercedes apparently is very high, and the Audi is even like 160 bar or something. Yeah, very sad and actually relieved to see Vale retire. I think he retired 2 years too late, but he's my racing hero. I was very emotional on Sunday to watch him do his last race. You just, even talking about it now, thinking about it makes me emotional because I looked up to him so much. So same with my brother who's in the chat. We were massive Valentino Rossi fans, massive. And I know he's coming to race GTs and so on, but it's not the same. That would be Rossi, the GT driver. Rossi, the MotoGP driver, a rider, was just phenomenal. Something else. Yeah, I think greatest of all time, but Marquez not far behind. So strongest GT3 drivers, I think this year, Pierre Guidi, and then you have Bortolotti, Mauro Engel, Caldarelli, Marciello, Kevin Est. Who else? There's quite a few, but those guys, I think they stand out. They stand out. So yeah. Cool. So that's it. Box. Quali over. I tried to do one more lap to see if I could put it together, but yeah, KVDL of course, but I can't say that because he's one of my best mates. So I'd be very biased. I just think that this year in GTs, Pierre Guidi he's done something that no one else has ever done before, so, and won't ever do again. He won Spa, he won Le Mans, he won GT World Challenge, he won World Endurance Championship, and he's in contention for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, so, yeah. Dries van Tour is also a phenomenal driver, phenomenal. But it's difficult. It's difficult. Like all these guys operate at such a high level. I'm just choosing Pierre Guidi because of he was just so far ahead of everyone else. I think one day it will be real, to be honest. I think one day we will get to a point where ACC does, or AC2, whatever they come up with. I think it will start to feel real. So, right. So, I wanted to see if we could do some Gran Turismo because I haven't played that in a while. So, for those of you who came for the onboard story, thanks for watching. We're now going to switch to games. Did I talk about VDL at the final? No, and I don't think it's fair if I do because Calvin is one of my mates. We had long chats about it after the weekend, but yeah, it's not fair if I share those discussions to you guys. It was aggressive racing, I'll say that, and I have no problem with aggressive racing. Um, you know, I think there's instances where both drivers could have done things differently, but I am not going to be dragged into this. That's all you're going to see. Um, yeah, Michael Fassbender, he's like the drivers that we see all the time in GT racing, which is a gentleman driver. So yeah, he's a nice guy, by the way. Very, very cool guy. Let's see if this works. Yes. Okay. I haven't done this in a while, Gran Turismo. And I hope that the sound works, to be honest. I don't even know what daily races are on, but I didn't feel like doing any of like the real sims tonight. We're just gonna play around in one or two daily races, see if I can still, yeah, I don't know. Can I still do Gran Turismo? How does the Ferrari wheel compare to direct drive? I'm not, direct drive is cool, but I don't think it's a big differentiator. Anyway, the best wheel for PlayStation is the TGT2, by the way. Dragon Trail Gardens, sweet. Let's do a couple of races around there. What do you say? Hey. The most confusing thing about the Ferrari wheel is learning what is X and circle and all that in the for PlayStation. Now, if the pedals don't work, we can't play this game because sometimes they don't. I'm using the TLCMs from Thrustmaster. I don't even remember how to navigate. How funny is that? I didn't watch the Porsche series. I don't honestly. I don't care. I've done it. I race against the guy, so for me, there's no sort of what would you say, mystique or anything around. I mean, he's another gentleman driver, and he goes through the same challenges that all gentleman drivers go through. Um, and he's learning just like all other gentleman drivers, and it just takes time. RSO1 GT3. Cool. How long do I have to wait before that thing goes green? Because then we can automatically, yeah. Yeah, I don't have the PlayStation version of ACC anymore at home. My test drivers do. Um, but I want to put it on the PS5. So I spoke about the Max and Lewis thing at the beginning. The first 19 minutes of the show is dedicated this week to Formula One. I share my opinion. It's going to get a lot of trolling comments, I suspect. But anyway. Okay, sound is working. How much do you need to be a gentleman driver on your team? All of it. All the money you've ever earned times 10. No idea where you can find them from in Cape Town. I don't live in Cape Town anymore. I live in London. I know it will be very difficult for you to find them, that's for sure. Okay, let's do some practice. Dive Bomber Dave. No, I'm Dirty Dave. I wonder if I have it in here. Somewhere here I have a Dirty Dave cap. Here it is. It's a bit sweaty though. Boom. So if it's Dive Bomber Dave, he's doing it wrong. Okay. Can you change tires? No, definitely turn that down. Okay, let's go for it. Yeah, I've raced in the Nordschleife. There's a video about it. How's the sound? Is it quite low? Look quite low. Looks very low actually. Uh-oh. See, this happens with the TLCMs. Why is it at half throttle? There's the full throttle. Is it because... Guys, how do you fix this? The pedals only go to like halfway. So there I'm using the remote, okay? Right? But here, now the pedals won't work at all. Yeah, this happens sometimes. Here, if I use the rear pedals, it works. And then you can turn down the tire sound. You can turn down the tire sound. Okay, peeps, help me bug fix this. Why is that happening? Let me just take off the pedals and put them back in to the PC, and maybe they'll respond. No? No. In fact, keeping them unplugged makes no difference. What if I do this? Any idea why this happens? Don't press a button on the remote before you load in. Okay. Okay, now we try. There we go. Okay, cool. Biggest thing to get used to in this game is the understeer. This game taught me how to deal with understeer in real life. More than any real sim. Yeah, that worked. That worked. Unplug and replug. How's the sound, by the way? Woo! That's not it. Alex Smith, what's happening, man? Woo! Clive, how you doing, dude? Ladies and gentlemen, one of the best photographers in the world has graced our chat. Clive took a photo of me when I met Kazunori Yamauchi, hero of everyone who's ever appreciated Gran Turismo. Greatly appreciative of that photo, dude. I'm looking forward to Gran Turismo 7. I'm a massive Gran Turismo fan. I hope it's good. hope that it's a good game. Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna try position the car differently next time. I stream every Tuesday, MD. Every Tuesday. Yeah, I have a day job. I run the SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy. So when I'm not racing, I'm operating those two businesses. Clive, I appreciate it, dude. Oh, MD, I've been streaming quite frequently, actually. I think this is my 5th stream since coming back after a year off. I need to stop hitting the rev limiter. No more races this year, Nicholas. I've finished my season. Next race is in March or April next year. So we'll fill that with sim racing. Just trying to put this... yeah, I want to close this lap and then go to registrations. Which one is pause again? No. Yes. Exit. Thanks, dude. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Okay. So what? We're like, oh, just 2 seconds off the pace. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. 30.3. I should aim for like a 29.5. So Christmas I'll be away. Christmas I'll be away. I'll be in Europe with family. Is this the best car? Let me just double check. It's not my favorite car. This classic mid-engine problems. It's a mid-engine track at the moment. Okay. Who makes money in the GT circus? The teams and the professional drivers, I suppose. But the professional drivers, if you're not driving frequently, you're not gonna make that much money. You'll make like decent cash for a race, but some pro drivers will only do 5 races a year. It's not a living wage, that's for sure. It's very difficult to actually make a living if you're not a factory driver who's salaried. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Audi around in Gran Turismo. I can't drive it. I mean, I can, but I'm not good at it. 28.6. Fucking hell. I think I'd be 2 seconds off in any car right now. Any reason why I didn't try racing single seaters? Money, my man. Money. shit, oh shit. Why don't you get a lot of money support from Ferrari? Because they're, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a factory driver. I'm not a salaried Ferrari driver. I mean, I'm a Ferrari esports driver, but the payment structures there are performance based, so outcome based. But I don't get paid by Ferrari to race. I get paid by the race teams to race. So it just doesn't work that way, peeps. They have a roster of drivers, and that's just how it works. Well, the thing is, Ferrari get me without having to pay me, so it's fine for them. Yeah, the bumper view is the best view in Gran Turismo, no question. Nicholas, if you want to hear my opinions about the F1, the first 20 minutes of this stream focus on F1. I don't usually talk about F1, but for some reason I felt necessary. Woo! It's amazing when you start to talk like this, how the driving goes down the toilet. With this qualifying time, we're starting at the back. So let's try not finish last. To be fast in sim racing, there's one secret. Lots of mileage, lots of laps. Of which I've done neither in Gran Turismo in a very long time. TGT2. I'm on a TGT2. I can see the 29.5. I can see it. But we're not going to get there before the race starts. Ciao Fede. I haven't raced a Porsche, no. I've only raced Ferraris. Yeah, my plans for next year are confirmed so far. Now that I'm confirmed silver. But I can't announce them until next year. That was terrible. Joshua, I use a TGT2 wheel by Thrustmaster. Okay, not last. Not last, but I'm in the A group instead of A+. No good. And I use the TLC and brake pedals, Thrustmaster wheels, Thrustmaster pedals, Thrustmaster wheelbase. Race Anywhere screen chassis, and a Sparko sim rig. Nicky Tim is a he's a factory driver, so he's one of the best. Nicky Tim's up there. He's up there with that list. I just forgot. There's so many good GT drivers. So, how realistic are the pedals? I don't know. Realistic, I suppose. Main thing I like with the sim pedal, it can't be too stiff. And pedals is the only place I found an advantage in sim racing. Tony, if you go to the first 20 minutes of the stream, I share my opinion on F1 Brazil. Yeah, so I need a pedal that's not too stiff, so I can modulate it quite a lot. I especially like it if the top, like the first 5%, is actually easy to get to. So yeah, I do have a PS5, but I'm not using it here. The PS5 at the moment's in the lounge, so I don't think this is top split, to be honest. The guy who's on pole, he's probably the fastest. He would be a top split driver with that lap time. But the three guys in front of me, yeah, that means if I do like a 29.5-ish, yeah, 29.5 will put me in the top 5. And the top guys are doing 28s, so either no one's playing Gran Turismo at the moment, or I'm not in the top split. Barely touching beds. No, next year I'm doing much less racing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm barely racing next year, but I'm racing. I can't tell you I'm doing Le Mans. Beetle in front of me. Oh, shit. Still got to get used to racing again in the slipper of Gran Turismo. Yeah, Richard, just if you in my Discord channel, there's a peril FAQ. You can go into the Discord and see it there, or just follow me on Instagram or Twitter. But I'm not racing the rest of the year, so I can assure you any calendars you look at now would be forgotten by all of us. Oh baby! For a moment it felt like I was racing the AI. This guy wasn't making a single mistake. Oh no! Leave the door open. I'm gonna go for it. Oh! Woo! Not enough! Very nice. Forgot how fun this game was. I'm looking for I need some gloves because my palms are sweaty. Okay. Oh, oh shit, almost broke glass. Oh, look, I'm picking up the keyboard to handle the game. Actually shouldn't be touching anything. Just use the fucking steering wheel, David. Jesus. Mario, first 20 minutes of the stream. I cover the F1. Hey chat, got a question. In racing games, I know there's an option to adjust the front wing on a GT3, but I can't see a front wing in the real car. Yeah, that's if you can adjust the front wing on a GT3, I don't know which game is that. Ah, Matt, well, you know, it's not okay. My opinion on DRS is that the intensity of the DRS, we're going to go with the Rinaldi Supra, should be reduced. But this is how it should be reduced. Step one, should only be allowed to use it for a certain amount of times in a race. So you should, Tando, yeah, in real life you don't have a front wing to adjust. So let's say there's a 70 lap race and there's 3 DRS zones like in Brazil or 2. You should only be allowed to use the DRS 30 times. So kind of like in IndyCar, I think they've got a limit, and same they used to have in DTM, and DTM you could use DRS. And secondly, they just need to shorten the DRS zone by not half, but I would say 30% shorter DRS zone, and limit it to 30 presses or 50% of the laps in a race. And that will make it a bit more strategic and still useful, because you need DRS in F1 to get the cars close enough. I'm skeptical that they'll be able to get that close next year. Yeah, I don't think it should be used for lapping people, but if you have that engagement limit, then you'd be more strategic. You wouldn't just use it to lap people either. So I think DRS should stay, but it should be strategic. That's all, and shortened. Ooh. That's not what you want. You want to get over those curves. I think we've always needed DRS, to be honest. There's never been a period in F1 where you could follow. Maybe in like the 80s, but who wants to watch those cars? Those things are slow compared to modern day. I don't know, Nicholas, if they will. I don't know. I don't think the 22 regular... These cars are still very... If GT3 cars struggle to follow each other and we get understeer and we are slow, then how are they going to solve it for F1? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, strategic as in a limited amount of times you can use it. I think I've chosen the wrong car, peeps. I should have stuck with the RS01, even if it was hard to drive. Oh, the understeer in this thing is just chronic. I don't mind the number of DRS zones in a lap, but they should be shortened. DRS should not be designed for overtaking. It should be designed to get close. It should be called the get close wing. Maybe it needs to close, like if you go into top gear or something. No, that's the wrong way. It should be open for the final 2 gears, so they should shorten it towards the corner, not at the exit of the corner. Oh yeah, there's going to be plenty of grey zones that the teams are going to exploit. That's just the nature of F1. But apparently the rules are quite limiting, but I wouldn't know because I'm not involved in F1, so... I do know 2 F1 simulator drivers though, but they aren't allowed to tell me anything, so... No info from them. But it's smart for a back market team or a slower team not to defend someone like Hamilton, because they're not in his race. Look, this is the closest F1's ever been, by the way. If you look at the gaps to the teams, the field spread is actually less than it has been in previous seasons. I mean, everyone raves about Senna and Prost, but don't forget that Senna and Prost raced in a car that lapped 3rd place. So, you know, their car advantage was ridiculous. I'm already preparing for next season, my man. You're prepared. I mean, if you're if this is your job as being a racing driver, you're never not thinking about driving. So let's try get this apex. No, still understeering away from the curb. Heavens alive. This is absolutely the wrong car. I don't have an opinion on who's better between Charles and Lando. They're both obviously incredible because they're Formula One drivers. That's more like it. Top of the back, baby. So the GR Supra is common. 29.4 though. How do you think the races will be in the upcoming tracks? Great. Yeah, in this car you got to like basically shift before you even see a rev light. So sorry, just one sec. When your accountant messages you at 9:15 in the evening, you got to reply. Kailami is happening, yeah, but I'm not racing in it. Oh, peeps, this is the last race of the eve, and I think we will get within the 2-hour mark. These streams usually last 2 hours, so let's see if we can go from 9th to 5th. That's the aim. Is it the 4-hour format for ELMS that you like it more? No, it's the way that the car feels in the ELMS. It's the best feeling ever. The 4-hour format's cool, but the way that the car handles is something else. I hope we're not starting at the back in the corner here. No, okay, good. This is one thing I can't wait for Gran Turismo to fix is the field spread at the start of these races. I know why they do it. It's so that no one rams each other and makes the first part of the race a nightmare. So you can only ruin the one person's race. You can't ruin the next guy's race, which is smart. You know, in like ACC and iRacing, you can ruin the entire grid. But it can make it impossible to get from 9th to 1st. Oh, get the apex, David. Oopsie. Yeah, I prefer the Renault. Noted for tomorrow. This thing's quite talky, I forgot about that. I hate that I have to lift it though. Didn't have to do that in the RSO one. Come on, make the corner. Like I said, the biggest thing to get used to in Gran Turismo is the understeer. That's what you have to readapt to. And then you go to iRacing and it's the opposite, and then ACC's bang in the middle. Oh! Come on, top 5! Look at this guy! Motorstorm hero. Oh, buddy, you're closing the door. Holy! Should we review that or should we just take it? I'm taking it. We got P5. I'm taking it. Oh, it's the final lap. It's the final lap. Oh, shit. I thought that was the final lap. Holy moly. There was like a guy trying to undercut me in the final turn. Those two guys took each other out. Then I took them out. How do you not get a penalty for that? Me. What happened there? Interesting. Gran Turismo's penalty system. But let's be clear, I would have given everyone a penalty there, not just me. No, what's happening, Dylan? Is there no penalty system anymore? Oh. No penalty system in place. That is perfect for Dirty Dave. Since August. Oh well. I wonder if it's affected player numbers. I don't think so. Okay, we have to do a video review to end off this session. The top drivers don't get resets. What do you mean by a reset? P5, baby! Better than P2. My favorite position in sim racing. Ah, hang on. P2 is my favorite position in real racing. I'm lucky. I'm lucky if I get a P2 in sim racing. Ah, but they should then just fix the SR reset. Don't get rid of the penalty system. Just fix that stupid SR reset algorithm. Greetings, Norman. Thanks for tuning in, my man. I wonder what Gran Turismo 7 is going to be like. How do I view the replay again? You can't? Is there no way to review the replay? Oh, I can't because I don't have enough memory. Oh, that's... Oh, there it is. There it is. Hang on. Found it. I don't have enough memory to save this replay. Watch. Did it save? Okay. I don't think it worked. Because it gave me a warning that I only had 25 megs left. Or 20 megs, so... I wonder what's on this PlayStation that's keeping it so full. Okay, we have to see that last thing, and then we're going to end the stream. And then it's going to almost be bang on 2 hours. Boom! It worked. Oh, it's only 4 megs. Okay, let's skip to the good stuff. Just try to remember how to operate the buttons in this thing. Rossa Sim Racing, can you please do me a favor and drop me a message on Discord? Because I'm going to the post office tomorrow to send your stuff, and I can't find our chats, and I need to know the return address for those wheels. I don't have a daily driver. I sold it. Again. I sold it again. It was an Audi S3. I covered this in the last stream. I sold it because I was frustrated with the software. Great car if they didn't try to be Tesla, you know, with the software. These cars with slow touch screens, it's like, how can you in a even a 20,000 euro car have a touchscreen that is as slow as a freaking Android phone from 2016. It's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Ah, I knew that would happen. This happens when you don't have enough memory on the PlayStation. Okay, we're going to end it there. Blue screen of death. Okay, so RIP to you, bro. RIP to you. Okay, let's go face cam. All right, ladies and gentlemen, chat. It's been great. It's been emotional. I enjoyed showing you around Spa at night. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, maybe we can sneak in that lap around Lamar that I spoke about. But just don't tell anyone. We're going to have to do some sim racing, then do a 7 minute onboard story, and then some more sim racing. You understand what I'm trying to say here? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because I don't want to get in trouble. All right, that's it. I appreciate all of the likes and the viewers, and I don't care if there's just 10 of you watching. That to me is freaking awesome. But please leave a like. All right, thank you so much for watching, and until next Tuesday, catch you on the next lap.